Realistically, was that probably do you feel like that was the best case scenario for you guys? What happened tonight, how it unfolded?
We're very excited. Yeah. Anthony Randolph, in our eyes, has star talent. He's obviously a young player, but we saw him early on as a guy that didn't think it was realistic that he'd be there. Guy for our system can play multiple positions. Obviously, long and athletic, and as he puts on strength, and I think his game would just, I don't think there's a ceiling for him right now.
In your eyes, how long is he going to take to develop into a guy who can make an impact for you?
That's hard to say. Again, he's 6'10", probably 200 pounds right now, so he's got to get physically stronger. But he does handle the ball and he makes plays now that we feel can he makes NBA plays, and we'll see what happens with that's something we have to wait and see.
When did you think you'd have a shot at him? After 12? After the Kings took Thompson?
No, not I was surprised all the way through. I thought each pick was potentially he would be gone, and so really, not till Portland picked at 13. There was guys on the board we liked, no one as much as him. So yeah, I think the best case scenario happened for us at 14.
So the smoke screen with Jason Thompson worked to perfection?
Well, I don't smoke.
Someone in your organization does.
I don't smoke. Nelly smokes a lot, though. Quite a bit. Too much, I think.
Obviously, you guys brought in someone body-wise who was very similar in Brandon Wright last year, and he didn't play very much. What's to keep that same thing from happening with Anthony this year as a rookie?
Well, again, I look at the draft. It's not free agency. It's not the trade deadline. It's the draft. And in some drafts, you have the ability to draft just an incredibly talented player. Now, when that pans out, it's all for speculation. But Brandon was very similar. We think it's just a matter of time before his body fills out, and he's going to be a tremendous player. Same with Anthony Randolph. Sometimes it happens sooner than later, or maybe it takes a little bit of time. But the talent is what you're looking for, and I think there is a time where you have to be a little patient and let that develop. But again, with both of those players, it's hard to imagine, in my mind anyway, putting a ceiling where they might go. It's really sitting back and watching it and see where it does go. And to me, that's an exciting part when you can get a player like that.
Could you would Anthony be ahead of where Wright was last year, about the same, behind?
I bet he probably weighs about the same. His wingspan is very similar. Brandon surprised me a lot on his basketball playmaking ability as well. A lot of people thought he's just a 4 that's long and dunks the ball, but I see a lot of him making a lot of basketball plays. And Randolph, again, you see him rebound the ball, push up the floor, lead the break. Like most young players, he's going to have to work on his consistency in shooting. I think he's probably been physically dominant at every level he's played at. So, a lot of things have come easy for him. That'll change. But I think he'll make the right adjustments. And, so strength training, a lot of those things we talked about with Brandon are going to be very, ditto for Anthony.
Chris, with matchup situations, could you envision the future where all three lefties are in the lineup at the same time? And has that ever happened in the NBA? 3 big men all on the floor at the same time.
I can envision that. We have 3 long young, athletic, left-handed players, no question about that. Yeah, I mean, I could see them playing together at some point. As far as it happened, I know I played on a team with quite a few lefties. I know Sam Perkins, Jalen Rose, myself. I think we had another one. We all weren't that big, though, except for Sam. But, again, that's not my focus. I'm left-handed, but I don't focus on that. But these guys, they're all young, early, not even, 20, 19, 20. Andres is a young player, so, that's exciting.
Which position would you eventually like to see Randolph in, and how much experimentation do you envision doing with that right away?
Quite a bit. I bet you come Vegas, he'll be handling the ball quite a bit. Again, we don't really look at players and then pigeonhole them. Obviously, we throw out different lineups and try and create mismatches, and I think he's going to be a type player that is going to be able to do that, whether he's playing 2, 3, 4. His skills are going to be able to cause some, tough mismatches for the other team.
You mentioned a mismatch nightmare, I think, in one of your interviews on TV. What about, where is he going to be able to do that? What allows him to do that? What creates those for him?
Well, I think his ability to handle the ball, his size, and his length. I mean, if he's a 6'10" long player, so if you play small on him, you can, give him the ball and let him go over people. If you play big on him, he has, has the ability to handle the ball, put it on the floor, and either get his own shot or make a play for somebody else.
Is his ball handling the biggest difference between where Brandon was last year as a rookie and where he is now?
I think you see a little bit more, maybe in that aspect of his game.
Chris, what do you like about the way he plays defense? I know he's said he takes a lot of pride in that.
Well, he's a pretty good shot blocker. He probably more off the ball anticipation. Again, playing a guy in the post initially is going to be tough for him because of his, his weight. But he has good anticipation, and you see that on defense as well as offense. Like I said, he'll rebound the ball and push up himself and find people or get to the rim. And he's like I said, he uses his length. He uses length to his advantage as well. Some guys are long, but they don't necessarily use it. He definitely uses it.
Given that Don has said that he has a commitment to play Brandon for sure and get Bellinelli into the rotation, does that translate also maybe that you would expect or maybe would hope that Randolph gets more of a shot than Brandon got last year?
I'd at least take at least the first week in Vegas to get a feel for that.
By all accounts, Brandon and Anthony are still projects, not necessarily NBA season players. Does finding a big guy who can step in right now, come in and help you next season, become the priority?
Well, we obviously, and you all know, we have a lot of business to take care of moving forward, and we feel like categorically we will address them, and this is step one, and I probably would at least use the word prospect as opposed to project, with the talent that they possess.
Did you guys talk much about using the trade exception night? How much that, how
Well,
much
we
was that
still have a
factor?
few days with that.
Right, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, a little bit. Not. Yes, we did.
Chris, how much were you, before you knew that Anthony was going to get to you, how much were you guys working the phones trying to get up and maybe get him when you saw that he wasn't going, 9, 10? How much time were you guys spending trying to make a deal there?
Like I said, we had a few guys that we liked. We talked about moving up, but I think as the draft unfolded, it was a deep draft. It was even hard to get another second-round pick because it was just probably more depth to it than probably public perception and stars in the draft. So, we pretty much were settled on picking at 14. You know, we talked about moving up, but it obviously didn't happen. And, you know, I feel like we got very fortunate.
When did you guys reach that determination that you were going to move up? Is that something that even...
Oh, yeah. No, until 13.
You had Randolph, Thompson, and Arthur in here Saturday. Was that a loose idea of who you were considering heavily at 14? If it wasn't Randolph, it could have been Thompson, could have been Arthur. And
Yeah, I think
did Randolph really separate himself in that workout?
he did, for sure. But a lot of that stuff, Tim, is as much scheduling as it is, you know, it's a lot of these guys that are bouncing around so much. That's kind of why we ran that group workout, because the guys are bouncing around, and I think for the players and the agents and even the teams to, you know, be able to have a guy bounce from Sacramento to Golden State to Portland to Phoenix, you know, you get him on his 5th workout, you know, so, but yeah, I mean, we had him in here for a workout. He clearly stood out, and got to be around him a little bit, and so, but that was not that was as much scheduling as it was. We're glad he came in. We're glad that we got him in, but
Now that you haven't used the trade exception tonight, are you less likely to use it at all because you're past this night and so many deals happen at draft night?
no, I think you know, a lot of conversations that I had could go through the weekend. You know, a lot of guys. It's much. You know, I would compare it maybe to, you know, a lot of guys that you kind of like and you couldn't get a shot at because you didn't have another 2nd-round pick that didn't get drafted. You know, there's some things that will continue, I think, on through the weekend, and see what happens.
2 years ago in the playoffs, obviously Paul Millsap gave you guys trouble in that series. Is that what Hendricks projects out to for you guys in your mind?
That would be nice. But, you know, with Richard, he was another guy we had in for workout. We liked him. As you pointed out, we have a lot of long, lean athletes. We felt like we needed some bulk and some rebounding is an issue for us. And, you know, I think he got average 10 boards, and just his physical stature is something different from what we have. And, you know, we did like him in his workout. And, again, we felt, you know, we thought he would be in the 2nd round somewhere where we didn't, you know, we thought maybe a little earlier. But, again, I think he's a guy we can, you know, it's a guy we don't have on our roster. Played in a tough conference and, you know, had some pretty impressive stats. So,
given that Anthony is maybe a natural 3, does that make it less likely for guys like Matt and Mikal in terms of their chances of coming back?
No, that's something we'll address. You know, like I said, categorically, taking care of the draft was the order of the day, and you know, we'll jump on that next order of business. Maybe tomorrow afternoon, maybe tomorrow night.
Overall, Chris, how do you look at this draft? How do you assess how you came out at the end compared with other years you've been in the draft?
Tonight I feel good, but obviously, again, the draft is something that, you know, you look down the line a bit, and so that's. But as far as tonight, the guys that we wound up picking, we feel really good about them. And how that pans out, obviously, is for future debate and future discussion, and I'm sure you'll let me know. I wouldn't even have to ask you.
I know Don was quoted before the draft that Randolph is a star, possibly. How much was Don involved in this pick? How much was Don on board with this pick?
It was unanimous.
If we sit here next year and Anthony has played very little, would you be disappointed, or would you say that's part of what might happen?
That's possible. I mean, again, it's kind of like, if you see a kid's 19, he's 6'10", 197. It's kind of like saying he needs to add strength, learn the NBA life and things like that. But again, I don't really try and, I'm really not trying to get into next year's off season. I got enough to take care of this off season.
Chris, you've I think like in the last couple of years you had about 4 guys who drafted were 19. How much of a factor is age? How much do you look at it, and do you look for the guys who are really young and have a lot of room to grow?
First and foremost, look for talent that stands out, that has a chance, the ability to turn into something more than just an average player. If you want to call a star player, difference maker, whatever that might be. If that's not available, I think you look obviously for still a talented player, but maybe something that you can plug into your roster to help you. And year to year that changes. This year we feel like in 14 with Anthony Randolph, his physical talent could translate. Now, whether that happens or not, we'll all sit back and try and help him as much as we can, develop him, and see where that incredible physical talent takes him.
Last question.
Chris, is there anything outstanding that caught your eye about Anthony's personality or character?
He's actually pretty laid back, quiet guy. That usually has a way of changing in the years to come. But for the most part, I found him to be a pretty quiet, laid back guy.